Hello, here we are at video 3 for topic 10. Today we're going to be discussing profit and how firms can maximize profit. So we're going to use the numbers from the example in the previous video. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch the previous video. We've got our bakery here, and they can hire any number of workers from 0 to 5, and they're producing cakes, right? So same production function that we had last time. Last time we learned how to calculate total cost and marginal cost, which I've copied to this sheet. Okay, so we have all of our numbers here. And then we want to extend this example to think about profit. So profit is equal to total revenue minus total cost. Remember, total revenue is all of the money that you bring in, okay? Total revenue is price times quantity. And then we've just learned how to calculate total cost. So if we take all of our revenues minus all of our costs, what we're left with is our profit. We can rearrange this equation for profit to equal P minus average total cost times quantity. Here, price represents revenue per unit. Okay, the revenue for each unit you get is equal to the price that you sell it for. And average total cost, of course, is cost per unit. And so if we take our revenue per unit minus our cost per unit, then we are left with profit per unit, and then we multiply by the number of units we sell to get total profit. These two equations are the same equation, just written differently, and each will be useful in different situations. So now we know how to calculate profit. Let's talk about how firms maximize their profits. The goal of any firm is to make money, and the way we say that in economics is to say that firms aim to maximize profits. In order to maximize profits, firms will sell a product only as long as the revenue they get from selling it is greater than the cost of producing it. And it seems like that should be the first rule of business. Don't sell anything for less than it costs you to produce, right? If you're selling something for more than the cost of production, you're going to be making money, and you want to do that. So this is our profit maximization rule here. Okay, always sell something for more than it costs to produce. Okay, so we're going to keep on producing as long as that is true. Now, in competition, which we have not defined very carefully yet, but that's what we'll be working with here, what we're assuming is that revenue per unit is just equal to the market price, right? So here we're assuming that price is equal to marginal revenue, and we would like to produce as long as that is higher than our marginal cost. We're going to relax that assumption once we get to topic 12, but for now, just assume that your price is equal to your revenues, and know that that's an assumption that we're making. All right, so now if the bakery, let's return to our example here, we've got our numbers in the table. If the bakery sells cakes for $10 each, how many workers should they hire to maximize their profits? Okay, so I just told you this decision rule here. We would like to produce as long as price is greater than or equal to marginal cost. And that's going to get us to the highest profit point. So I look here at my table, and I can see the first workers producing cakes at a cost of $3. Yep, that's less than 10. $4 is less than 10. $6 is less than 10. But I don't want to hire the fourth worker. Why? Because the fourth worker produces cakes at a cost of $12. I can only sell those cakes for $10. That's not a good deal. So I'm going to stop producing right here. With 3 workers and 45 cakes, because that is the point, the last point, where the price of cakes, $10, is higher than the cost of production. Okay, so this is my profit maximizing point here. And we found that by using this decision rule to produce as long as price is greater than marginal cost. So the bakery will hire 3 workers and produce 45 cakes. Because that's the last place where price is greater than or equal to marginal cost. All right. So if they hire 3 workers and produce 45 cakes, how much profit will they earn? We're going to go ahead and calculate this for, just going to erase this box here. I have a little bit of room. Okay. We're going to go ahead and calculate this, assuming that the price of cakes is equal to 10. Okay. But the reason why this decision rule is so important, it helps us characterize firm behavior for any price. For any price, okay? So one way to approach this first question to say how many workers should the firm hire to maximize their profits would be to calculate profit for all of these different points and then to pick the highest one. You could do that. And that would tell you for a price of $10, what point would maximize profits. But by calculating marginal cost instead, this allows me to see how much the firm would produce for any price, okay, without any additional calculations. We are going to do those additional calculations for a price of $10 because I want to show you that this decision rule does get us to the point with the highest profits. All right, so let's calculate total revenue and profit for each possible point of production here for a price of $10. All right, so total revenue is just price times quantity. So if I make no cakes, I get no revenue. Okay, 20 cakes gives me $200 in revenue. It's $350, $450, $500, and $530. Okay, total revenue is just price times quantity. And then profit will be total revenue minus total cost. So I'll just subtract. I got negative 20, 120, 210, 250, 240, and 210. Okay. So now you can see, yes, if the price is $10, this is the point of production that gives us the highest level of profits. Right? 250 is the highest of all of these profits. Okay? So normally in a problem, I would not have you calculate profit for all of these points. I'm doing that here to show you that this amazing decision rule, this works, okay? And we're gonna use this to help us solve all of our problems. I will though, if you look here in part B, I will ask you to calculate profit, but usually only at a single point. So that's just one calculation. So we've already done this. We know the answer is $250, but let's just go ahead and write that out as if you were doing a homework problem or an exam problem. So profit is total revenue minus total cost. My total revenue is price times quantity. That's going to equal, right, I have a price of $10 times I'm producing 45 units, and that gives me $450 in total revenue. So I've got $450 minus my total cost. I can just read off of my graph here, but that would be all of your fixed costs plus all of your variable costs. That's $200, and that's how I get a profit of $250. Right? Great. So now the next part of the problem is asking me, what happens if the price goes up to $15? And now you can see the value of this decision rule, right? Because you could go back and recalculate total revenue and profit for all of these different options at a price of $15 and then pick the highest one. But that would be a lot of extra calculations. Instead, we can just use this price is greater than marginal cost decision rule, right, to just read off the table what the answer is. So got my marginal cost. I'm gonna produce as long as my price, that's $15, is bigger than my marginal cost. And so I'm gonna stop producing now after the fourth worker, all right? So I've got, let's use a different color here, right? My answer for part C will be that if the price increases to $15, the firm will hire 4 workers and produce 50 cakes. And let's go ahead and calculate profit. In this case, profit would be 15 times 50, price times quantity, minus my total cost is $260. And that's going to give me a profit of $490. Great. So calculating marginal cost is really important, and understanding how to use this decision rule of producing as long as price is greater than marginal cost is a big part of this section of the course. All right, we have one more question here to answer, which is, what happens if the rent increases but the price stays at $10? Okay, so price of $10 means that my profit maximizing point is going to be 3 workers and 45 cakes. But what happens if my rent goes up? Well, that's bad, right? I'm gonna be paying more money, my total cost will increase, and I will earn less profit, right? Because my costs went up. But does that affect my decision of how many workers to hire? Let's go back here to re-examine how that might affect our marginal cost calculation. So what has happened here is that my fixed cost has increased, right? This fixed cost is no longer $20, but it's now $50. That's going to increase my total cost, right? Total cost is now going to go up by $50. And you don't need to write all of this out on your sheet, but I'm trying to demonstrate to you the effect of a change in fixed cost. All right, so my total cost went up, my profit's gonna go down, but what happens to marginal cost? What happens to marginal cost? The answer is nothing. Nothing happens to marginal cost because the change in total cost as I move down the table, as I hire one additional worker, it's still 60, right? 80 minus 20, or sorry, that's the old one. 130 minus 70, or 250 minus 190. Like, difference as I move from row to row is that I hire one more worker. I have to pay that worker $60. My fixed cost does not affect my marginal cost at all. Okay? So, what have we learned here? We have learned that a change in fixed cost will not affect our marginal cost calculations. And therefore, will not affect the production decision. However, it will affect profit. So if the price was $10 and our fixed cost has increased from 20 to 50, that's an increase of $30. That will decrease profit by $30. It's going to affect your profit, but it does not affect your profit maximizing production decision. You're still going to hire 3 workers. You're still going to make 45 cakes. You're just going to earn $30 less because your costs went up. So remember that fixed costs are kind of like a sunk cost. If you remember way back to the first section of the course, we talked about sunk costs in the very first topic. Okay, sunk costs, something that we spend no matter which choice we make, right? No matter how many bakers you hire and how many cakes you produce, you always have to pay your fixed cost. You always have to pay your rent, okay? So it's like a sunk cost. It doesn't affect the number of workers you hire because it's the same no matter what choice you make, right? So the sunk cost here, our fixed costs will affect your profits, but will not affect your production choice. All right, good. So next video is short run shutdown condition. And we've just got a couple more videos for this section. Short run shutdown condition is the last kind of new material for this topic. Then we'll do a practice problem at the end.